At 6:22 a.m. The pounding on my front door wasn't just rude, it was the sound of pure entitlement crashing into the one person who could actually ruin her day. When I opened it, there stood Gloria Patterson, Maple Grove Estates HOA president. Blonde helmet hair perfectly sprayed. Clipboard clutched like a holy relic. Jabbing a manicured finger toward the curb. Your wife's vehicle is facing the wrong direction. Code 4.2c clearly states all vehicles must face east on this block. That's a violation. Fix it now, or I'm calling the police. I blinked, still holding my coffee. Morning. Gloria. That's a county police cruiser. Sarah just pulled a double shift and parked it there at 2 a.m. It's literally her take-home unit. Gloria's smile never wavered, but her eyes narrowed like a shark smelling weakness. Doesn't matter if she's the Queen of England. Rules are rules in Maple Grove. We maintain standards for everyone. I'm calling it in. She actually dialed 911 right there on my porch. Voice dripping with righteous concern. Yes. Officer. I need a unit to issue a citation for illegal parking. It's disrupting the visual harmony of the community. 15 minutes later, a young deputy rolled up, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Gloria practically sprinted to him, waving her clipboard. That vehicle. It's facing the wrong way. Write the ticket. The deputy stared at the black and white cruiser with the light bar on top. Then back at Gloria. Ma'am, that's a police vehicle. I know what it is, she snapped. Rules apply to everyone. Even her. I stepped inside and called down the hall. Sarah? Gloria called the cops on your cruiser. My wife appeared in full uniform, tan shirt. Badge gleaming. Service weapon on her hip, looking every bit the lieutenant she was. She walked out calm as Sunday morning. The deputy straightened instantly. Lieutenant Brooks? Sarah nodded. Then turned that cool, professional gaze on Gloria. Is there a problem here? Gloria's face did something beautiful, it froze mid-smog. Mouth half open. The righteous fury draining into pure, unfiltered panic. She stammered. You live here. This is private property. The exemption doesn't. Sarah took one slow step forward. Are you telling a sworn law enforcement officer how the law works? Mrs. Patterson? Because I parked legally. In uniform. After a shift. There's a clear municipal exemption for emergency vehicles. Want me to read it to you? The deputy was already backing toward his car, muttering about wasting resources. Gloria stood there, red-faced, hands trembling on her clipboard as Sarah added quietly. Next time you feel like misusing 911 for a parking nitpick, remember whose tax dollars you're burning. The deputy left. Gloria stormed off without another word. But that was only the spark. 3 days later, the certified letter arrived. Not a warning. A formal violation notice demanding we remove the motion-activated security camera mounted over our garage within 72 hours. The reason? Unauthorized exterior modification causing visual disharmony with community aesthetics. The same camera that had caught the guy stealing packages off our porch the previous winter. Sarah held the letter up to the kitchen light, laughing in disbelief. They're serious. This thing was approved when we installed it 2 years ago. I'd been quiet through a lot in this neighborhood. Months earlier, Gloria had spread whispers that my freelance web design work from home was an illegal business operation ruining property values. Anonymous complaints. Dirty looks at the community pool. Even a petition started and mysteriously dropped. I'd stayed silent, watching, documenting every petty move. But this? This was different. I dug out the original architectural approval email with Gloria's own signature on it. Then I started asking around. Old Mrs. Delgado down the street had the exact same camera and never heard a peep. The Parkers had one too. Only the houses where someone had dared question Gloria suddenly had aesthetic issues. The next week, things got creative. Our trash bins were mysteriously skipped twice in a row while every other house on the block got picked up. When I called waste management, the rep whispered, "Your address was flagged for HOA non-compliance on container placement. Some policy they made up last month." Then the landscaping truck showed up unannounced. 2 guys started hacking our perfectly trimmed hedges down to sad little nubs. "HOA work order," one shrugged when I confronted them. "Says these obstruct line of sight." "Safety concern." "Line of sight to what? My own mailbox?" I asked. They just shrugged and left. I filed complaints with the city and the state HOA oversight board. Sarah called in a favor from a friend in code enforcement. But the real turning point came when our neighbor Marcus, retired Marine, American flag on his porch, showed up at our door one evening holding his phone with a shaky hand. "You gotta see this." The doorbell camera footage was crystal clear. Timestamped 2:17 a.m. Gloria Patterson, dressed in all black like a budget ninja, using bolt cutters to snip the chain on Marcus's "Support Our Troops" banner. She yanked it down, stuffed it in a trash bag, and glared straight into the camera before walking off like she owned the night. She said political displays violate the rules, Marcus said. But there's no such rule. I checked. Sarah watched the video once. Then twice. That's not a civil matter anymore. That's criminal mischief and trespass. She made the call using her badge number. Within 48 hours, detectives were at Gloria's door. Gloria tried the innocent routine. I had verbal permission. The detectives played the video. Her face went from practiced concern to deer in headlights in half a second. But that was small potatoes compared to what came next. The detectives started digging. What they found made the banner theft look like a parking ticket. Gloria had been siphoning HOA funds, over $18,000, for community beautification projects that somehow all ended up improving her own backyard, new patio, outdoor kitchen, even a fountain. The board treasurer, a nervous guy named Phil, finally cracked under questioning. She said if I didn't sign off, she'd make sure everyone knew about my accounting errors. I was scared. The real bomb dropped when they uncovered the bigger play. Gloria had been systematically targeting certain homeowners, anyone who pushed back, with stacked fines, fabricated violations, and sudden liens. The goal? Force them into foreclosure so a shell company called Meadowview Partners could buy the properties cheap and flip them. Meadowview, it turned out, was quietly controlled by Gloria's brother-in-law. Emails, altered meeting minutes, kickback transfers. Sarah and I spent nights building the folder while the detectives built the case. I delivered copies to every board member personally. No words. Just a polite smile. The same smile I'd worn for 2 years while they whispered about me. The emergency board meeting was glorious. Gloria showed up in her best pastel cardigan, ready to lecture everyone on maintaining standards. The moment the detectives walked in and started laying out spreadsheets and audio recordings of her discussing pushing the deadbeats out, the room went dead silent. Her voice cracked when they played the clip where she bragged. 2 more families this quarter. We find them into selling. Meadowview buys low. We all win. The self-righteous mask shattered. She went from confident queen to sputtering, red-faced mess. Pointing at me, he's behind this. He's always been trouble. That home office. Sarah stood up slowly. Mrs. Patterson. You called the police on me over parking. You vandalized a veteran's property. You stole community money. And now you're trying to blame the guy who quietly collected evidence instead of screaming. Sit down. The board voted to suspend her immediately. The county prosecutor charged her with embezzlement, criminal trespass, falsifying documents, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The local news ran the headline, HOA president accused of running suburban shakedown scheme. Gloria took a plea. No jail, but full restitution. Permanent ban from any HOA board in the state. And she had to sell her house to cover the damages. Her husband filed for divorce the same week and moved to Florida. Last I heard, she's living in a condo with strict rules. The irony is thick enough to spread on toast. We held a special election. I ran for the board, not for power, but because I'd watched too long from the sidelines. I won by a landslide. The first thing we passed? Term limits. Full financial transparency posted monthly. And a rule that any foreclosure action needs a full community vote. Neighbors who'd been too scared to speak started sharing their stories at meetings. The woman 2 streets over who'd been fined $4,000 for excessive holiday lights that were actually just regular string lights. The young couple threatened with liens because their kid's basketball hoop was 2 inches too tall. At the first open forum, I stood up and said simply, "This neighborhood belongs to all of us. Not to anyone with a clipboard and a God complex." The applause wasn't polite. It was relieved. Real. Sarah still parks her cruiser wherever the hell she wants when she gets home late. The camera over our garage keeps recording. And every time a new family moves in, I walk over, shake their hand, and say the same thing, "Welcome to Maple Grove." The rules exist to serve the people here, not the other way around. Gloria's legacy? A cautionary tale whispered at block parties. The woman who tried to turn a peaceful suburb into her personal kingdom learned the hard way that some rules, even the ones she made up, have consequences. Now tell me honestly, was Gloria just a dedicated neighbor protecting property values? Or was she a power-drunk bully who finally met the one system she couldn't bully? Who was really breaking the rules here, the lieutenant parking after a long shift? Or the woman who weaponized an entire community's rules for personal gain?